Hey guys, it's Justin again with another tutorial video. This is going to be a tutorial on pre-shading. I'm going to be using the panel lighting style, and I'm basically going to show you the way that I pre-shade my kits. Now I shot this once before, but I accidentally deleted it, thinking that I hadn't, that I had used the footage already. I thought it was old footage. I just deleted it off the camera. But whatever, it gives me another chance to explain it better, I guess. I don't know. So what we have here are the pieces for the cassette. So far I've done the entire left leg and a majority of the right leg. These are all that's left. The pieces that are going to be painted orange. Now, the shading style I'm using for this kit is called panel lighting. It's the most standard panel lighting technique you see across a wide variety of modeling mediums. It's basically where you will put your shade color around your edges, and if you so desire, around details of panel lines and things like that, and then you'll blend your base color over top of it, and the previous lines that you've shaded will create a contrast and add depth to those areas. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do panel lighting. One of the easiest ways is just to go around all the hard edges of a piece. So for that piece, for example, you would just shade around this border here, and maybe this one up here, and then possibly these openings. The way I do it is I go over everything, so I'll probably even go over this line in the middle. I'll go over these panel lines, this detail, and things like that. Another example would be to use a larger piece to show you. Again, you could either go around the entire edge of this piece and this hard edge, and then maybe this midsection here, or you can trace the panel lines, you can trace this little detail here, you can trace all these little bent pieces, this whole rim, these little middle pieces, these little vents. I mean, as long as you're consistent, it doesn't matter which way you do it. You just want to work consistently in what's comfortable with you. So I have to thin out some red paint. I'm going to be using Mr. Color 68 Red Matter and Mr. Color 59 Orange. These are Mr. Color lacquer paints. They're very toxic, so you're going to want to wear a mask. And if you want to wear gloves, you can do that too. So I'm going to go thin those down, and we will start painting. So, see you in a second. Okay, so I'm back. I've thinned down my paint. I've got a whole bunch of it right here now. It's thinned about 1 to 1, maybe a little more thinner. It's real thin. It looks a little something like that in the cup. I'm currently spraying at about 15 psi. All the pieces are primed gray. They've all been sanded smooth, primed over, made sure there was no issues with anything, and they are to my liking. So let me put my mask on, and the first thing I'm going to do is trace this outer line and the midline. Then I'm going to go in and trace the inner lines, and then details and things like that. And eventually, when you know, that's the way I'm going to recommend doing it the first few times, just because you get a feel for how much shading you're laying down as you're doing it, so you can find a good point when you want to stop. Then again, if you know you're going to shade the whole thing, there's no reason you can't just go through and get all the lines that are going this way, so you don't have to turn the piece, then turn the piece, then turn the piece, and then flip it over and all this other stuff. But I'm going to do it this way just to show you guys, you know, how you can do it. So let me put this on. So that is the piece completely pre-shaded. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of these pieces. I'll come back and we can look at how to blend this in and how to cover it and make it look nice. Okay, so we've got all our pieces lined up, ready for shading. The next step, I'm actually going to take this off, is to lay down our base color over top of this. And we're going to try and lay it down as evenly as we can, and we're going to try and blend all this in so it looks nice and uniform, and these lines will become almost non-existent. We'll see them a little bit, but not very much. I'm going for a more subtle look, but you can get what you're looking for in maybe 3-4 passes. So let's put our mask back on and start spraying. Okay, so that's 3 coats. It's about where I like it. I'm going to hit it with one more light pass just to blend in a little bit of some of the uneven parts. But this is basically where I want it. So then we're going to flip it over and get the back side and make sure that none of that gray shows through. And there you have it. So once again, this is also sprayed at 15 psi, just like the shade itself. You know, just take your time, work in thin coats, and build that color up. And once you get to a spot where you're comfortable, you know, stop. You can always let it dry, and if you don't like it, come back and blend it in a little more. There's no need to just lay it all down at once. Another thing to mention is that it's going to look different in this light than it is going to look over there, and it's going to look different there and here than it is going to look when you take your final pictures. But the biggest thing is making sure that all your shading is consistent. So I'm going to use about three regular coats and a light coat just to you know, blend everything out. And once you get a flat coat on this, all that shading is going to pop out a lot more, and you'll see it a little better. So this is where I'm going to wrap this up. Just a really quick primer on panel lighting. Maybe I'll go over some other shading styles in the future if you like this. I have a couple other methods I would like to experiment with and try myself. So if you guys want to join me on that, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Later.